Hello everybody, welcome to Mr. Stanier's Chess Academy. This is the expert course lesson 5 already. We're going to have quite a short lesson today. I'm just going to teach you about one thing in chess. Usually we try and cover 3, but we'll just keep it short today so to give you some time to play some more chess and to consolidate what you've learnt so far. So I'm going to teach you about something which is called the pawn's box, also known as the square of the pawn. And it's a really handy shortcut to your thinking to work out whether you can get a pawn to the end, to the back rank, so it can turn to a queen before the king can stop it. So if you look at this endgame position here, then you might, if you didn't know about the pawn's box or the square of the pawn, if you didn't know about it, you'd have to do a bit of mental thinking to think, actually, right, if I'm white and it's my go, can I get to the back rank before the king catches me? So if I go here, then go there, and if I go, and so on, and you have to think it out move by move. But there's a quick shortcut that you can make to your thinking, and this is where the pawn's box comes in handy. So if you look at where the pawn is here, and you draw its kind of diagonal towards where the king is. So this will be this diagonal here. And then we have here the box of the pawn. Okay? If the pawn was here, we draw the diagonal there. And then we have here the box of the pawn. Okay, if we have the pawn here, we draw the diagonal. This is the box of the pawn. If we have the pawn this side of the king, then this is the diagonal, and this is the box of the pawn. Okay, so wherever the pawn is in the board, you draw the longest diagonal towards the king, and that is your box. Okay. So where were we? So if we have the pawn here on c5, and we're white, we're thinking, can we get our pawn to the back rank before the king catches us? The question is the king inside the box of the pawn? If the answer is yes, the king is inside the box of the pawn, you're not going to succeed. The pawn is not going to make it to the end before the king catches you. So that means you're going to have to bring your king up to protect your pawn. Okay? But if the king is outside the box of the pawn, you'll be successful. Okay? So let's just have a look. So if we look at the pawn here on c5, can it get to c8 before the king catches it? Well, let's look at where the box of the pawn is. There we are. Is the king inside it? No, it's not. So in this situation, if it's white's move, then white will be able to get to the end. So let's have a look. So black might go there. And look, we can quite easily get our queen there. And then it's a very simple queen, king, checkmate. Now, if we look at the situation here and we look, we know where the box of the pawn is. But say it's black's move. Okay, if this is black's move, and so you might be thinking as white, okay, it's black's move. Can I get my pawn home safely? Well, let's have a look what black can do. If black moves, black has now entered the box of the pawn. And so this pawn here is now doomed, because if you go there, black goes here, go here, black goes here, and then even though it might change to a queen, black's going to take it. Okay, so this is such a good little mental shortcut for you to do. So, you know, if you look at this situation here, box of the pawn here, white to move, well, you know that you'd always outrun the king. Okay, but if it's black's move, they can step into the box of the pawn, and you know you're not going to get home safely. If we have this situation here, remember that the box of the pawn isn't here, it's towards the king, so the box of the pawn is here. You're not going to get your pawn home safely. But if this is the situation, the king's outside the box of the pawn, so if it's white's move, be able to get home safely. But if it's black's move, you won't be able to. All right. So that's a really handy little thing for you to use. Now, I was watching a video from Magnus Carlsen, the current world champion. I know what a life I lead. Talking actually about how he's never actually fully understood this rule of the box of the pawn or the square of the pawn. But it is quite a simple rule, Magnus. Come on, you need to apply yourself a bit more. So you know, it's something which most chess players know about, but it's a really good little mental shortcut to use. And I'll show you a few examples of that in OneNote. But otherwise, get onto ChessKid, get practicing your chess, and put into action all the things you've learned so far. So that next week we can have a look at the mistakes that you've made, and we can use that to move our chess forward. So I'll see you next week.